right, Ballers of the Realm, welcome back to the Realm of History. It's been a minute since we've had a review session. Our last quiz was quite a long time ago, but this is going to be an important one. Got a couple of key announcements. Number one, of all the things that I had in the intro, the one thing that I'm most proud of is one of my best and top AP students. That's Mia D. Congratulations to Mia D. As some of you may know, she did qualify for, of course, the state championship in cross country, which is really a hard task to complete, especially in Division II. You know, she's one of my track ballers. She's a track star for us. And as the head coach of that team, she qualified for the state championship as a freshman and then now qualifies as a sophomore in cross country. So sign of strength, Mia, rep the realm. You're just a fine representative of our school and, of course, the realm of history. So we thank you and we wish you the best at states. Now, I do want you to check in with me. Let me know that you are here, ladies and gents. Go ahead and like this video and give me a shout out in the comments, letting me know that you are in attendance. I see that there are about 75 ballers on right now. Third hour, girls class, you will be able to check in with me after this session on a Teams meeting. So to get there, all you'd have to do is go to my gradebook links and click on the third hour Teams link. You might have to give me about 5 minutes to get there and close out of this after, but that will be something that we'll do. Basically, we need to play the review game because you didn't get a chance to do that. So you get an extra opportunity to get some extra credit there. Okay, let's talk, as we always do, a little bit of key advice. Now, key advice today, number one thing is I, of course, want you to write some things down from this session, attack this session, just like you would any class session. But also, I think it's really important to read your outlines several times through. There were 5 sections. Section 3 was a change-up section, so you have printed off notes there, and then you have those box questions. Some of those boxed questions will show up on the quiz tomorrow. So reading through all sections of notes several times, along with that Section 3 change-up lesson, I think will be imperative to your success on, of course, tomorrow's quiz. The second thing, hey, listen, I haven't talked to you in a while. We did have Mass today for All Saints Day, but make sure that you pray for the right things. Listen. This is just one quiz. You don't need to pray for success on this quiz, but rather, pray to the good Lord to allow you to use your talents to the fullest, those talents that you've been blessed with. Pray for those things. Pray for your families. Pray for all the people who are in need in this world that have less than we do, that are less fortunate than we are, because we are so very lucky to be where we are, to be here tonight. 90 of us, studying for a quiz. I mean, we're in pretty good shape. We have a lot to be grateful for. And I think you need to say the prayer of gratitude. Just thank the good Lord for all the blessings that you have. And then tomorrow, when you wake up, when you're able to put clothes on yourself, when you have your cell phone to check the news, when you get in your car or your parents' car and it starts up and you get to school safely, thank the good Lord. Thank you, Lord, for these blessings. Thank you for giving me this day. That I think is the best advice that I can give you. Number 3, listen, be here now. You have so many things going on. There's a big volleyball game. There's the state championship cross country meet this weekend. There's a football game Friday. You have other classes, right? You got to be here now. When you come in the realm tomorrow, you got to pop in, be here now, right? And focus only on the task at hand. That's the way that you can be a champion. Number 4, listen, none of this would be possible for you without your parents, those that take care of you. Make sure that tonight, right now, if you have to, before you go to bed, say thank you to your parents. That's really important. Have that communication with your parents. Let them know that you're grateful for them, for all the things that they've done for you. Just express that gratitude as well. And then finally, tell them that you love them, right? Tell them that you love them. Express yourself. Share your feelings. I think that's really important. I've been your age. I know how it is, but you got to do that. Number 5, listen, meet the challenge, right? Rise to the occasion. Don't back down from challenges. I'm going to challenge you. Hey, listen, my goal, I told you from the very start, I sent a video to your parents before the school year began. I am going to challenge you. You need challenges. You need challenges. You know that. We talk about it every week. So get ready. Get yourself ready. You had 2 days to review. I don't feel sorry for you. Get yourself ready to rock and roll, and let's ball out on this quiz tomorrow. Okay, Now, we're going to get into the key terms. We're going to go through a lot of the key terms, so pay attention. I'll try to go a little slower this week and make sure that you guys have all of this understood very well. We will go over some of the AP tips. I've got a few of the key figures available for you. And then at the end, I will have a question and answer session. So I'll answer any of the questions that you may have. All right, here we go. First off, movable type. Movable type is, of course, a Chinese development, very early printing. It was using small characters that could be arranged on a template to form a frame. And what they would do is they would put on a template all the characters for page 1 of some book. They'd throw ink on it and they'd stamp it down on a piece of paper, right? They'd make 1,000 page 1s. Then they'd make a template for page 2. Bam, they make 1,000 page 2s. And that's how they reproduced books of writing and other important documents back in those times. Okay. Next is a pastoralist. A couple people got this one wrong today on the review game. So pastoralists are nomadic peoples that also herd domestic animals. Okay. So they're nomadic. They move from place to place. So they don't settle, but they bring with them goats, sheep, pig, chicken, so on and so forth. Okay, so they herd these animals. Next, samurai means one who serves. They are warriors. Okay, they generally defend their feudal lords and their feudal lord's land. What they're basically doing is they're pledging their loyalty to the lord, or in Japan, the daimyo, right? And what they're looking for in return is land of their own. So the emperor gives land to these daimyo or lords to protect it. They are then responsible for protecting the land. So to protect that land, they hire samurai, who are kind of the equivalent of European knights. We'll learn about those ballers in chapter 13 and 14. That's coming up next week. Or actually this week at the end of the week. But what they do is if they serve their lord loyally and they fight to protect that land, they then get land of their own. Oh, now see, you see how it works. So that's the feudal system as well. Okay, that's how that works. The samurai follow this special code called Bushido. Bushido is a code of ethics that a samurai must follow. Very similar to the code of chivalry in European history. Okay, so the code that knights follow is called chivalry. The code that samurai follows called Bushido. This is something very important to understand during this time period in history. Okay, let's take a look at the daimyo. This is just the word for the Japanese feudal lord. So I've been talking about it quite a bit, but I just wanted to make sure that you know that daimyo is the word for the Japanese feudal lords. You might not see it as a key question on the content portion, but it could come up as something in the AP portion. Okay, so make sure that you know that. Next is a major invention called the magnetic compass. Here's what you need to know. I'm not asking you to be a Boy Scout or a Girl Scout here, okay? The idea is that the magnetic compass is a Chinese invention. It certainly increased navigation, but especially by way of the sea. And it was extremely helpful for increasing trade, and especially trade on the waterways, okay? So that was something that really, really was important as far as for navigation. Next is another Tang and Sung invention called gunpowder, all right? Gunpowder was a Chinese invention originally for the use of fireworks. That in the 1300s, the first use of gunpowder was for fireworks. Okay. Now, there was a Chinese ruler named Shi Huangdi. Don't need to know about him for the test, but he was always trying to live forever and ever. And so he put like a team out there, and their job was to try and find an elixir that would extend your life. And so some of these chemists were working on these different elixirs, and they come up with gunpowder, and it's explosive, right? And so they then turn it into a use of explosive weaponry. That's what it ends up happening. That's what ended up happening with gunpowder. Angkor Wat is a temple structure built by the Khmer Empire in honor of the Hindu god Vishnu. It was the largest religious structure in the world, but the fact that it is a Hindu temple in the Khmer Empire, which was located in Cambodia, tells you that the Khmer Empire and Angkor Wat was influenced by India, okay, Indian culture. That's a very important part of this. By the way, all of the questions that were on the review game today were real quiz questions. Okay. Those were actual quiz questions, maybe formatted a little bit differently. But if you were paying attention and if you did fairly well on those, you should be in pretty good shape for the quiz tomorrow. Next is Shinto. Shinto was a Japanese religion and definitely means way of the gods. Now, in this faith, they believed that all things had a spirit, and they called those spirits kami, Kami. But those are some of the basic practices of Shintoism. Eventually, Shintoism blended and became syncretic. That's a word for you to understand. Syncretic became in sync with Buddhism. Okay, and we'll talk about Buddhism next. So Buddhism, I'm not asking you to define it again because we already did that in chapter 11. Some of you couldn't do it. Hopefully you will brush up on that by studying the chart that I showed you when we went over the quiz paper. Buddhism mixed and blended with Shinto in Japan, but it also was diffused, spread. We know cultural diffusion, right? To many cultures throughout Southeast Asia. Okay, so Buddhism was practiced throughout Asia, East Asia, and Southeast Asia as well. I will get to the comments. It's just that as I'm working through my live stream, I have these banners at the bottom that I pull up, so I have to have those on my screen instead of the comments. So I will go through the comments when I get to a break point, okay? Next is the Pax Mongolica. Like the Pax Romana, it was a time period of peace. In this case, it's a time period of Mongol peace. What's most important to understand is that it didn't mean that there were zero wars at all, but it meant that war was significantly decreased. And one of the things that I want you to understand is that trade was expanded. Trade was expanded significantly due to the lack of major wars. So the Pax Mongolica allowed for an advance in trade, but also as a subsequent problem, it also allowed for the spread of the bubonic plague, which we'll be learning about. We've already learned about a little bit. We'll be learning more and more about in the upcoming chapters. Pretty basic one here, the civil service examination. It was a test that scholars must pass in order to work in the Chinese government system. What it led to, though, is what was called a meritocracy, right? A lot of people want meritocracy. Meritocracy is like your level in society is based on your talent and your education and your job, right? Your career, okay? So meritocracy is something that was created by the civil service exam because the only way you could gain status or get into the government system, which is where you made the big time bucks, was to pass this test. Champa rice, so important, right? It was a fast growing strain of rice that allowed for multiple harvests per year, at least two, okay? Significantly increased the food production. And so when you can increase the food production, you can then have an increase in the population. You cannot increase the population without increasing the food supply. Okay, people will die that way. So when you can increase the food supply, you can then see an increase in the population. We've talked about this all year. This should be standard, Pat. The gentry, okay? The gentry is a social class. It's an upper class that was new, and it was made up by scholar officials that did pass the civil service exam and then had taken jobs in the government bureaucracy, okay? When we watch those videos, talk about the fact that China had a bureaucratic form of government. What that means is they have these different departments, the Department of Military, the Department of Taxation, so on and so forth. Next is kamikaze. Now, a lot of people were confused because they've heard of kamikaze from World War II. We're not talking about World War II here, ballers. We're back in the 1200s, 1300s, okay? So the original use of the word kamikaze in Japan refers to the divine wind. That's what the literal translation is. And it was referring to a typhoon-like storm that had a major impact on the Mongolian invasion of Japan. What they say historically is that, yes, the Mongols were trying to get to Japan. They had about 150,000 troops that boarded ships. Many of them were lost due to this storm. That pretty much wraps up the key terms. Now what I'm going to go into is a few of the key figures, okay? A few of the key figures. So here is the Kamakura shoguns. Basically, what you need to know here is that the Kamakura shoguns are leaders. They're a group of leaders, usually from the same family. They led from the city of Kamakura, though. That's the key. That's why they're called the Kamakura shoguns, is because they led from the city of Kamakura, which at that time in Japan was a military headquarters. They were in power as military leaders during those attempted Mongol invasions that we were talking about when the Kamikaze typhoon helped them. Next is the Heian period. The Heian period went from 794 to 1185. Not so concerned if you know those dates exactly, but hey, understanding like about 800 to 1200, 800 to 1150, that would be what we're looking for. But this is a time period in which Japan was ruled from the city of Heian. Also, though, during this time, there was a high society court structure developed. Let me explain what this means. A lot of young ballers are confused, and ballerinas are confused about what this means. When I say a high court, I'm not talking about courts of law here. I'm not talking about a place where you go to trial or you're a lawyer or you're a judge. No. What I'm talking about with a court, the court is the king's closest advisors and family. These are the people who are like living in the king's palace. They're working around the king, working around the emperor. That's what a court is. In Heian, there was highly civilized court, like very educated people. They were into arts. They were into fashion, right? They're extremely wealthy. They're extremely powerful. They're extremely influential. They live really pampered lives in comparison to like the general citizens of China, okay, and Japan, so on and so forth. So those are some of the things that you want to take into consideration there. The next major period that's on your review sheet is the feudal period. Now, we talked about feudalism a little bit earlier in the review, and then we have also talked about feudalism pretty much all week. Some of the classes asked about it in class, and I drew a picture on the smartboard of how the feudal society works and the different layers of the feudal society. We will talk about it more when we get to Europe, because feudalism in Europe was really, really popular, especially throughout many of the kingdoms. For this chapter, it was primarily used in Japan, and it's a time period in which lords and daimyo often fought against each other to acquire more land and territory. All right, let's talk about, okay, obviously you need to know about the dynasties. The two most important dynasties that you need to know are the Tang and the Song, followed by the Yan. You don't need to know a whole lot about the Han and the Sui. You do need to know this order, though. There will be a question on the quiz. Could be a multiple choice, could be a short answer on the AP part, but it's going to ask you to put the Chinese dynasties in order, and that would be as follows. Han, Sui, that's how you say that, Sui, Tang, Song, and Yan, okay? And I might not be pronouncing the last one. It's in Mongolian, so it's a little bit different language. But nonetheless, those are the dynasties that you need to know that took control of China, okay, over the course of this chapter's information, chapter 12. All right, now, AP info, okay? I gave you a big clue today when I showed you the AP Classroom site. If you watch those videos, there's a couple clues in there, and they go through some documents. Some of the documents that they show you in those videos are going to be the documents that are prompts for the questions on the quiz tomorrow. So that's a huge hint for you. Watch those videos. I did that for a reason. I introduced you to watch those videos because I think they're helpful for you. I think you can benefit from them. They're only about 5 to 8 minutes. You could watch all 3 tonight. Just saying. Now, utilize the review sheet. I wrote on the review sheet AP tips. I have 6. I'm looking at them right now. I have 6 tips. All right. Right there. AP tips. I got 6 of those bad boys on the sheet. Those are very helpful. They tell you what you need to know for the AP portion. Holy donkeys. I don't know what else I can do to give you guys a jump start on what's going to be on the AP portion. I hate to have to spoon feed you, but there it is. It's right there. Like, the opportunity is there for you. You got to seize the moment. Carpe diem, right? Seize the day, seize the moment. It's right there for you. Utilize those. Research, study, anything that's in the book, anything that's in AMSCO, anything that's in your notes that relates to that, master it. Yes, 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 yes. Okay. Next, listen, I'm going to tell you right now what the prompt documents are. You can search, you can put Google, it'll show up. You'll find these documents, okay? Number one, the document that you're going to see is China's Examination Hell Book. It's written by Miyazaki. It's about the Chinese Civil Service Examination, okay? Now, there's a big book on it. I will tell you right now, the video from AP Classroom that I showed you today, I only showed you the first 2 minutes. If you continue to watch that video, it breaks down, the teacher breaks down that exact document and that exact part of the document that you will see on the quiz tomorrow. So if she's going to break it down for you, wouldn't that be beneficial to watch that video so that you know how to break down that primary source? So not only is it's not only a teaching tool of how to break down the source, but it's the exact one you're going to see tomorrow. So it's like a double benefit for you to watch that. I would be watching that tonight. Yes, something like that there, ballers. Number 2, the second prompt is a painting. It's called Whiling Away or Whiling the Summer Away. It's a painting by a Chinese artist named Liu Guangdao. And if you type that into Google, it'll show you the painting. So you can study the painting tonight if you so choose. Number 3 is a little bit more simple. You're probably not going to find this photograph on the internet, but it's basically a photograph of a temple/monument that was located in or on the island of Java, which is modern day Indonesia. Okay. And it's going to be talking about religion. It's a temple monument, so you know it has to do with the spread of religion. Okay. All right. I think it is time for question and answer. Give me a moment. Okay. I don't have a commercial tonight, but I'm going to go to the comments. Let me see what's going on here. All right. We got a lot of ballers here checking in. Sign of strength. All right, let's see here. A lot of ballers from the realm showing up today. I like it. Fantastic. Don't forget third hour ballers. We'll go to teams after this. Some shout outs for Mia D. Love it. Yeah. Give her some love this week. Believe she's running Saturday. Just looking for some questions. Okay, we got a question right here. Do we need to know all social classes or just the gentry? All right, so the gentry would be the most important social class to know because that one's on your review sheet, so you know there's going to be a question about it for sure. But, okay, one of the things that you need to think about here is that you should be understanding anything that was in AMSCO about social classes, anything that was in the content reading about social classes. So that's always something you'll need to know. You know, social classes show up on the quiz often. All right, Master Roman, do we need to know the 4 Yes. And 4 continents, I told you guys to study the maps in the book, and that's one of the pages that's listed on the review sheet. Okay. I'm not going to show you links for the videos because today in class, what I did is I told you exactly where to find the videos. It's only available on the AP Classroom. Okay, you have to be signed up for AP Classroom. You have to sign in, and then that's the only way that you can do that. So I don't have links for those videos. Sorry. Next, what is Srivijaya? Okay, Srivijaya was an island empire. Okay, and Srivijaya, most important, was someone a group that controlled trade. Basically, they controlled what's called the Strait of Malacca, and it was a shortcut for ships to get to India from the Pacific Ocean. So a lot of ships would come through there. Srivijaya took control of it. They put their own ships out there, and they blocked any ship from coming through unless that ship paid a tax. And so Srivijaya became very wealthy from collecting these taxes by way of the sea. And so that's what you really need to know about Srivijaya. Yeah, so I talked about the Han Dynasty, and I said exactly what you'll need to know today. I said that you only need to know that they are in the chronological order of this chapter, and they were the first dynasty in this chapter mentioned. You're not going to need to have a definition for them for the quiz, but you need to know that they are the first dynasty mentioned in the chapter, and they gave rise to the Sui dynasty, then the Tang, then the Song, then the Yang. Okay. Yes, I just answered that one. Okay, so first off, there's two Romans? Yeah, okay. There's two Romans. Roman and Roman. Okay, that's confusing me, but nonetheless. All right. So the Kamakura shoguns, part of the feudal period, somewhat won't be a question on the quiz. Okay. Most thing you need to know about the Kamakura shoguns is that they were in power during the Mongol invasions. Second part, what's the difference between scholar officials and normal government officials? In China, because you had to pass the test to become a government official, you were a scholar official. What makes you a scholar official is being in China, having to pass the civil service examination. Malik, I'm going to need a little bit more specification. Are you talking about like for the AP part? No, not necessarily. I'm not necessarily referring to the Borobudur temple when I said there will be a photograph of a temple. It's just a random temple, not the Borobudur temple. Nina D says, what would people in the high society court practice foot binding? Or is that two different time periods? Okay. People throughout China would practice foot binding. So not necessarily two different time periods. They practice foot binding, remember, all the way up into the 1940s. And then it was banned. Okay. So yes, foot binding was practiced by high society. Some people in the lower society would do it as well. But yes, most of the women were in the high society because their husbands would have enough money to take care of them, because they would basically be crippled after foot binding. They couldn't really walk all that well. Yes. Yeah, something like that, Master Logan. It's basically the order that's on your review sheet. I have a copy of the review sheet here. So if you look down there, Han, Sui, Tang, Song, Yan. Yeah, there you go there, baller. Okay, Prince Shotoku. Prince Shotoku is a Japanese prince that sent emissaries to China to study Chinese culture, but definitely focused on religion. And so this is how elements of Buddhism came to Japan. The Koreans came to Japan with Buddhist ideas. So these are some of the ways that those culturally diffused ideas come from China to Japan. Yes, Amelia. Mia D fan club, no doubt about it. Yes, big fan here. Big fan here of Mia D. Sign of strength. Jake, yeah. It starts off as a Hindu temple. That's mostly a Hindu temple. So over the course of time, it may have become a Buddhist temple due to the switching of religious practices. But for our purposes, I would like you to focus that it was a Hindu temple originally. Okay. As subservient to men, Wyatt, women did not receive fair and equal treatment. And this is exemplified by the practice of foot binding, right? That was kind of an example of like, okay, how are women treated in these societies? There was Wu Zhao, who's on your review sheet, who was a female empress, but she kind of declared herself empress. So women's rights, women in leadership positions, not very common. They were expected in the Confucian ideology to serve the male counterparts, unfortunately. Um, Possibly, Ella. Possibly, it could help you on the AP portion. Yeah. Will it be like a direct question about it? Probably not. I just answered that one. Well, just the names of those countries, Chloe. You know, the list that I gave you in the notes. You want to know some of those countries because what might happen is the regions may be mentioned in their modern day terms. So that's where that will be helpful for you. This one, I'm not going to go over the different types of Buddhism, Theravada, Mahayana. Those are detailed in the AMSCO book right there. So I would appreciate if you would read that book. It is definitely there. Everything that you need to know is there. But also Heimler in his video topic 1.1 also breaks those down too. So you got options there. It's AP. Daily video 1.1. It's the first one. It's the one we watched in class today. Well, Lucas, there are short answers on the AP part. So there are some short answers on the AP part, and I said that they're regular short answers. They're not SCQs this time. So got to be ready for anything. But yeah, I mean, it could be a multiple choice. Can I explain the religious spread in Southeast Asia? Yeah. Two big powers, right? India and China. India, original country of Buddhism and Hinduism. And then from there, they permeate to China, Korea, Japan, Srivijaya, Khmer, Daviet, right? So they mix and blend throughout that. Mostly, how do they spread? Cultural diffusion through trade. Cultural diffusion through trade. Wu Zhao, I just talked about. She's a female empress. She kind of was a regent, so she was ruling until a male counterpart, who was the heir to the throne in China, came to power. But the most important thing is that she's a female that kind of took the reins as empress on her own account. That's all you would really need to know for this quiz. Always try to throw females that were powerful, females in positions of leadership in, because a lot of times history leaves them out. So I always try to throw females in there so you guys can study and understand that, hey, there were powerful women in these times that did great things, accomplished a lot. Yeah. Confucianism was a major part of the civil service exam. Confucian ideals like filial piety, right? Respect for the elders, respect for your ancestors, children respecting the father, wives respecting the husband, students respecting teacher. Like, those are all very big parts of Confucianism, and those things would be assessed on the civil service exam. So I think, yes, I think that's a big part of the exam. Yeah, I answered that one for you, Malik. I think I was reading your mind. Where was Chinese culture diffused to? Well, most every other place in this chapter, to be honest with you. Almost every single place in this chapter. Daviet, Korean dynasty, so on and so forth. All of those things were definitely big parts of that. Sarah wants to know about political structures in North and South India. That's an AP tip. Please refer, Sarah, to pages 23 and 24. You've got a couple kingdoms mentioned there, like the Cholan kingdom in northern India, and you have the Vijayanagara Empire. Those would be examples of practices or empires that were practiced and kingdoms practiced in those regions. Then I'm sorry, that was south. And then in the north, you have the Rajput kingdom as an example of certain things that they did. There's some bullet points there. Here. There are some key bullet points right there that will really tell you about some of the key things that you need to know. So really, it's pages 23 and 24 would be all you'd really have to study to answer the questions related there. And the questions will be predicated on exactly what is written there. Okay. Yeah, I just answered that one. Okay, Marco Polo. Marco Polo basically was from Venice, Italy. He was a traveler, he was a writer, and he ended up in China. And he spent a lot of time with the Mongols. Okay, he was there and he served under Kublai Khan. He basically was there for like 15 years. So he really learned a lot about what the Mongols were doing. He went on big adventures with them, was attending some battles, and wrote about his experience there. Yeah. The temples are still standing today. Angkor Wat is still standing today. The Temple of Borobudur is still standing today. The one that you're going to see in the photograph tomorrow is still standing today. You don't need to search and find it tonight. You're not going to find the right one. So I wouldn't be too bogged down with that. When you see it tomorrow, the answer will be clear from being able to see it tomorrow. The other two prompts, I think those ones, like looking at those and studying tonight will be helpful, but the temple that's in Java, you don't really need to search for it tonight. If you were paying attention today, I showed you to go to Unit 1, Topic 1.1, and it has a list of the videos. So you should be able to do that. Hardenberger, geographically, well, there's a lot. The climate change that caused the Mongols to move, the major regions that are making up Southeast Asia, the major regions that make up East Asia. Where is Mongolia located? Where is China located? Where are all those Southeast Asian countries located? Where's Korea? Where's Japan? Where's Vietnam? Right? There's a lot. I mean, there's a lot to know about geography. I could talk 40 minutes about what you need to know about geography. Basically, anything that's in the notes, anything that was in the reading, right? Where the Mongol Empire was, how large it was, that it was the largest in the world's history, that's continuous. We could go on and on. Pretty loaded question. Tomorrow there will be three on one version. I think I put a fourth question on one version. I have two versions because cheating is a problem at St. Mary's. I'm not going to lie, cheating is a problem at St. Mary's. What happens is the second hour and the third hour, at lunch, they tell the fifth hour and sixth hour what the questions are. So you got to make two versions. I wish it wasn't that way, but it is. Who won the review game? Well, that's questionable. Right now, there's a tie. There was a tie between second hour boys and seventh hour girls. They both had 7 out of 10. So basically what's going to happen there is no point is awarded. No point is awarded. I'm not going to do the coin flip anymore because I heard about it. I heard so much about it the last time I did it. The team that lost whined like babies. And so from now on, I'm going back to the original rules. If there's no clear winner, nobody wins. No clear winner, no winner. Third hour has a chance. If third hour scores higher than 7, they're going to get a point, but it's not going to impact the other kids. Well, Bryce, pretty much everything I said today and everything that's on that chart, the chart that I mentioned, I think it's 323, 324, 333, 332. It's in the page numbers there. The chart about the tongue and song inventions in section 1. Claire, unfortunately, I'm not going to go over the dynasties. There's way too much to know. I mean, we could spend 30 minutes on the Song dynasty, right? So the Yuan dynasty or the Mongols, there's just way too much to talk about. I can't tell you like exactly what you need to know. Anything that's in the notes, anything that's in the textbook reading, anything that's in the AMSCO, all things that you need to know. Probably won't be necessary, Grant. Probably won't be one of the major questions. Now, on the Tang dynasty, though, the Tang dynasty, you will need to know that. You will need to know that the Tang dynasty fell primarily due to raising heavy taxation on the people, and that caused a lot of people to be upset because even though they were paying heavy taxation in the Tang dynasty, they still weren't able to have enough money to defend themselves or win wars or fund wars. So what was happening is there was a lot of people in the court system, court society that I talked about earlier that were kind of usurping that money and taking it for themselves or themselves. However you, I'm not an English major, but nonetheless, that's the idea. Yeah. There's a big chart that I've been referencing about 3 or 4 times, Clara. That chart is what you need to know. I think I have a copy of the Libro here. Give me 1 second. I've been talking about this chart a long time. Holy donkeys. Okay, so in section 1, everybody, seems to be a lot of questions here. I don't know why. About this. In section 1, at the end, it's on page 328, everybody. This chart right here on 328, you guys see that chart? Those are the exact inventions from the Tang and Song that you need to know. Yeah, right there. Page 328. You don't need me to tell you because it's right there in your textbook. You got porcelain, you got the mechanical clock, you've got movable type printing, paper money, gunpowder, magnetic compass. Those are all the bad boys that you need to know right there. All right. Khanate of the Golden Horde was in Russia. Ilkhanate was Persia. Khanate of the Great Khan was Central Asia. Okay. Chagatai Khanate, also Central Asia. I'm looking for questions. I see a lot about the coin flip. I disagree. You didn't win. You tied. Sign weakness by you. It's not going to be on the test. I wouldn't waste too much time on it. I mean, you should know the 4 islands. It was in the notes. That's all you need to know is their names. Why do you say that, B. Woj? Hey, congratulations. I think I saw that you were all region today on some post. That's big time. Congratulations, man. You're really balling out. All right. I'm not seeing. Srivijaya is an island empire that controlled the Strait of Malacca. So they controlled the trade route, which was a shortcut. Basically what I was talking about earlier. Okay. We've been on for 46 minutes. I'm going to wait for just a few more moments to see if there are any other final questions. Okay, if you guys want to settle this, I'm not going to do a coin flip. Maybe here's what I'll do. Let's get a representative from, give me a shout out if you are going to represent second hour, and then I need a seventh hour girl to also represent. So put it in the chat right now. Let me know right now who's going to represent second hour, who's going to represent seventh hour girls. You got 30 seconds to put it in the chat. Is Amanda on? Amanda, are you on? Is Phil on? Everybody says Amanda. Amanda, are you here? Phil, are you here? Okay, Amanda is in. And I don't see Phil. Phil is not responding. So Amanda is in. I do not see Phil. Phil is not responding. All right, Malik, you're going to have to represent. I don't have time to wait for Phil. So, Malik, you're representing. Malik and Amanda. This has nothing to do with smart. So this is going to be pick a number. All right, pick a number, and as one from 1 to 10. Amanda, you can type yours in the chat first. I'm going to put my number. Whoever's closest will be the winner. Go ahead, Amanda first. Malik, you go second. Ladies first. All you got to do is pick a number. Just put it on 1 to 10. Throw it on the chat. Go ahead, Amanda. Go ahead, Malik. Put your number down. Somebody's spamming. Amanda put down a number. I don't see a number from Malik. I don't see a number from Malik. All right, we got Amanda with 7. Malik put 6. The number was 9. So Amanda and 7th hour win. There you have it. No whining. No whining this time. All right. Amanda wins. Okay. With that's because that's my football number. So you guys should have known that. That was my college football number 9. So that's what I'll always pick. If we ever do that again, you'll know it. But nonetheless, that pretty much ends the live review. So second hour is going to hate me tomorrow, and 7th hour will be very happy. So 7th hour gets the +1 of the regular version, and that's basically what you got. Okay, so 3rd hour ballers, give me about 5 minutes, and I'm going to open up the Teams meeting so that you guys can play the review game. Okay, we want to make sure that you get a chance to get that extra credit point too, because you didn't get to play today and you didn't have my class. So what we will go ahead and do at this point in time is we'll close off the meeting. My final advice is to read through your notes carefully, study your review sheet. Okay, get yourself ready for tomorrow's quiz. I am going to award Wally an extra credit point for remembering that was my number. So go ahead. That's cool. And then if you really want extra credit, like Roman, just look at what Roman said. He got the time wrong, but Roman has the volleyball game. There is an extra credit opportunity there, I think. And it starts at 6:30 though. The game is at Notre Dame Prep and starts at 6:30. I would love to see the Realm come out and have some fun together as a unified family, which we are. We are a family, and I would like to go from there. Please don't put anything inappropriate in the comments, guys. If you do that, you'll be banned from these from now on. Don't be dumb, guys. Okay. Third hour, girls. I will of course be in the teams meeting in about 5 minutes. So go ahead and go to the grade book, go to the third hour teams link. It's in my links on the grade book, and then there you go. Okay. Hey, listen, make sure you say thank you to your parents, say your prayers, and come tomorrow ready to rock and roll. Okay. Thank you for joining. I appreciate all of you. Much love for all of my students. I really care about you. I want you to do well. Peace. Brooklyn, I see you. Yes, we miss you.